Hi, it's Michael Kerr here, presenting Small Business Banter. A healthy micro and small business sector means a successful economy and a more vibrant society. Small Business Banter is about helping regional business owners better prepare for current challenges, but also for the next stage of business success. I'm Michael Kerr, founder of Kerr Capital, advisors to business owners. Each week, I interview a fellow small business owner or an expert, and they share their stories, their lived experiences, the wins and the losses, and their best advice to help you, the listener, get the most you can from your own business. Small Business Banter is brought to you from the studios of 104.7 Gippsland FM and is heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network. And thanks also to Kerr Capital, supporters of the show. Welcome into another edition of Small Business Banter Community Radio and Podcast. This morning, I'm chatting with Sri Govindaraju, who is a co-owner of Zealandia Honey in New Zealand. So I wanted to say a big hearty welcome, Sri, and thanks for taking time to come on to the program.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for inviting me to be on your show. It's a privilege. Yeah.
You did a post on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, and it was a very open and honest and personal post about the involvement you have in your small business with your husband, I really wanted to drill down on today in the program on some broad themes: being in business, being in a family business, how you've adapted to leaving safe employment to go into business. Go through all of what we've been through the last, few years. I think you were celebrating 4 years in business. So, I just want to talk, to you and from the point of view of your experience and what you would share with other owners, because we want more small business owners. Firstly, can you just give us a bit of a rundown on what Zealandia Honey does and your personal background before we dive into some questions?
Sure, sounds good. So my name is Sri, and I moved to New Zealand from India in 2007. My educational background is in food science and technology, and then I upskilled with doing some diploma in business communication. So I've worked on and off over the years with both private and public enterprise, and while I had my children and while they were still young, I had a bit of trial with what it is to be a business owner. So I had a small gig that went on for a few years with something called Flavours Authentic Indian Food. It was to teach people how to cook Indian food and how actually us eat at home, not the stuff that you get in a takeaway restaurant. So that's how that was my first taste of self-employment. And I really loved it. I loved the flexibility, and I picked on a few strengths that I didn't know I had. So that was good. And that was the lead up to starting Zealandia Honey. So my husband had already been working with another honey company and had been in this role of research and development. And one day he kind of knew that he wanted to start his own brand and export honey to India, because India was at that time, and I still think it is, the diabetic capital of the world. So he wanted to make difference to people's lives by introducing honey, and he believes that honey is a medium glycemic index product. So that was the start. So that was the idea that came about in 2016, and it took us a few years to get it established and going. Yeah.
So that was he had this very high level vision for this, to change people's lives through the business that you've got now.
Yes.
And what was it a case you bought in? You said in your post you bought into the vision 6-7 years ago. But at that time you were in safe employment.
Yes, that's right.
So tell us about the decision to both back the vision and also take the risk of leaving, both of you putting all in.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy because if I've learned anything from starting Zealandia Honey is never give up a security of a job till when the brand is still little or still tiny, but it's still in a conceptual stage. So, and funny thing is, stupid young us, we also signed up for a house and land package at the same time. So we were building this massive house with a massive mortgage, and we starting a business which was catered for exports, and I've given up my job. So it was,
it was a pressure cooker.
It was. It took me 3 years to realize how I'm not unhappy, but I'm still not financially independent yet, being in the business, but I'll get there. It's all right. But I love it. I've loved starting it. I've loved being part of getting the brand growing. I've loved being part of meeting people, sharing about the brand, networking, the benefits of having Manuka Honey, having the opportunity to travel to a few countries to get the brand across New Zealand, into America, into UK, into Middle East. So it's been great, and to India as well. So it's been great. I can't complain.
Yeah. So were there temptations or points along the way where going back to a job was front of mind, or because you've both stuck at it?
Yes. Yeah. So I entertained the idea of going back to work last year because last year was the pretty lowest point. There was inflation, there was the COVID, there's these compounding things, and then mistakes happen in business with no fault of your own, and all these compound. And last year I was seriously looking for work, but then I couldn't find the kind of roles I wanted to be in, but maybe it was not meant to be. Maybe it was the universe's way of saying, stick it out, everything will be fine. So I stuck it out for 4 months. But yes, in saying that, Sunil found a job. Sunil kept the money coming in, and he's still employed at the moment.
Your husband,
yeah. Yes, yeah. So Sunil is my husband, sorry. So he's still employed, and he keeps the family going while I'm full-time in the business, trying to get the product made and do all the operational side of it. Yeah.
So it's kind of been a transfer. Was it a vision he had that you bought into, and then you're operational.
Yes.
Operationalizing the business. So
yes.
It's kind of a nice synergy there, or you left your job to come in, and now you're staying in. He's going off to. Yeah, to do what's needed, right?
Yes, that's right. And again, not everyone who's a visionary can do the operation side, and not everyone who's in the operations can be a visionary. Well, I've never come up with mind-blowing ideas or concepts. So if someone gives me a concept and gives me a strategy and how to do things, I am capable of working in the framework, whereas my husband, Sunil, we've also got some research staff within the company, and he leads them on. So they've got the research project. So he is able to visualize that there's going to be a shortage, or in the next 10 years, this is the kind of path we need to take, and they kind of do research on those. So he's the ideas man. And I work with all the other stuff. Yeah.
So tell us about being in business with your husband.
Yeah.
And how you manage a lot of small businesses are family centric, and it could be mother and daughter, father and son, husband and wife, cousins. Totally. So tell us about your experience, how you work your way through both the day-to-day business challenges layered by the fact that you go home and you see each other and as husband and wife, and as a family.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be here today without Sunil. Sunil is my rock. He is there, my constant, steady support. But I will never do another business on the scale with my husband, because the shop talk does come home, come to the dining table. It impacts all of us. My children are also, I see how the ebbs and flow of business impact my children too. So I will not, I don't want to say never, but I will not get into another big business venture with my husband. That is for sure.
So you've learnt that, and
yeah.
So how do you exit this scenario? You got to see it out and just like what's your plans there if you're happy to expand?
The business is still, I can't say it's successful yet. It is successful. It's survived 4 years, and there's a lot more to give, because we've come through the back of COVID. We've come through, there's still economic recession happening. So I'm sure that given the right opportunity, Zealandia will flourish. So for me is to find staff and take a back step. So it will get to a point where we will be able to hire resources, have in-house talent, and then I can ease off, and then we just be there in the governance doing the business. So that would be ideal, but that's a few years away. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a plan to get it to a point where it's self-sustaining, and you could potentially even go, pursue your own personal career or do something else.
Yes, that's right.
Have a return coming from an investment in a small business that you've put a lot into.
That is the plan. Yeah.
And is that so? In terms of getting to that decision to take that path, was that a meeting of the minds with your husband to this is how we've got to take the next step?
Yeah, so being in New Zealand, we've still managed to get to customers around the world who've been consistently taking product off us. So once that customer database multiplies and we have a few more, so there's consistency in product volume being pumped up and money coming into the business. And that is the strategy, at least at this stage, is once we are able to push out more volume, there will be a chance to have more people. Right now, we are able to manage between us and a few subcontractors like Hideout staff. We can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was an understanding that we're at we're married, we're in business together, but we've got the business thing has got to go on a different path. So. Yeah. And you mentioned that word governance before, and you were looking forward to when you've got some staff and maybe a CEO, and that governance thing could go back to both of you. Both of you, it's a private company? Yeah.
Yes, it is a private company, so, and we do have a third shareholder too in the business. So, Sunil and I own the majority stake, but we do have a third wheel too. So, that is the ultimate gig: is to get investment, do a capital raise, and build on the brand. Because we do have a beautiful brand. So many people recognise the name Zealandia. So,
And like a globally recognised product, and there's some contention with Australia at the moment on the trademark.
Oh yeah, let's not get into that.
Let's not get into that. So, what we might do is I want to switch the conversation now to where to for you and what you've learned. But so on today's edition of Small Business Banter, talking with Sri Govindaraju about starting Zealandia Honey with her husband. So, and then growing the business, right, and taking over, COO role, control, day-to-day operational responsibility, and now setting it for a future where you don't have to be involved day-to-day, and you've got that, you get some reward for that. Yes. Investment of emotion and money and time and energy. So now you've gone through an awful lot. You left safe employment to go into this business. You'd had one small business prior. That was the the authentic Flavours Authentic Indian Food. So is small business the preferred pathway now for you, having, been involved in two, and how do you compare that with getting a job?
My lifetime ambition is this is big picture thinking. So my lifetime ambition is to be of service to people. So this I get from my dad. My dad worked as a warehouse manager at Indian Railways for a number of years, and he saw a lot of misery and happiness coming through that warehouse in terms of the staff, the labor. They didn't have a financial plan. And what he did was to help them out. So when there was a funeral or there was a marriage, they would borrow money at a very high interest rate and never be able to pay back. So he created a financial system where people were able to pool in funds from their each paycheck, and it became a chit fund sort of thing. And then they would borrow money from that fund to fund whatever milestone or big event that is
major family happening.
Yeah. And my dad ran that for nearly 10, 15 years, and he changed and impacted a lot of lives. Like, it was, he didn't know that there would be so much impact. By the time he retired, he touched so many hundreds of people's lives through that. And that kind of affected me too in some shape, way, and form. So I'm not trying to be my dad, but I just want to be able to create impact in women's life. I've had my dad empower me in many growing up as a teenager, as an adolescent, as a young adult. So I want to be able to be that source of empowerment to other women in my community. Women and children mean a lot to me. I don't know why. Don't ask me why, but that's my passion. So I want to create something 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, when Zealandia is self-sufficient. It can sustain by itself, and I'm not required. I want to create a social business model where I have women working in that business and give back to the community. So I will be in small business. I'm not a corporate person. I don't think I have the tenacity to be, or the mindset to be in a corporate.
You have those. You have the tenacity to be in small business. and to go through what you've gone through. So you've that's, I think, one of the fundamental tenets of being successful in small business is sticking at it and having a plan and all those things. But it's not easy. In that post, and I'm just looking at it now. The quote was running it day to day between kids, school, and sports. So you managed to fit it in. Amongst a whole lot of other things. So, it's maybe that's where that, empowerment for women's coming from. You had to kind of balance a whole lot of things. And, STEM was something that you also, you talked about in your post as well. So, so, and your father's influence is in your own DNA. He did that whilst he was an employee of the railways. Is that so? It wasn't something he had to do, but it was something he needed or wanted to do.
Yeah, he just volunteered to do, and he never took a payment for it. It was established as a trust. And he did it. I'm really proud of him. Yeah.
Well, we need mentors and heroes. So now, for looking back on what you've learned, are there other mentors or coaches or supporters that you would draw on more quickly or in a different way next time you're in small business? You've done a lot of stuff you kind of learnt as you go, but reflecting on that, do you think there would have been an opportunity to bring in not investors per se, but other counsel or advisors or mentors. I mean, I think it is so lonely in small business, and we bust our chops to do it. But I think more and more we've got to be open to the idea that there are good people who can help us. We've just got to ask.
Yes, I do have a few of trusted advisors that I lean on. And without them, I don't know where I would have been. So I am grateful. I did for those business mentors that I sought out and asked them if they would be happy to be my sounding board to, share any ideas or how am I feeling. Sometimes, like you said, it is a lonely path. The life of a business owner can be so awful sometimes that you do need someone who has been in your path before to understand, to have that empathy for you. Yeah.
So who were those people? You don't have to say who they are, but were they like friends with business experience, or were they, trusted professional advisors, or?
So one of them is two of them are a trusted professional advisor. So I met them through one of them through the New Zealand Mentors Group, and the other one through a local economic development agency, and they've got this thing going for mentorship. So two of those are from that end, and another one is a friend who's also business owner. And so every time I feel I need some ideas or bouncing off ideas or share stuff, so I just rock up at his place. And then I've got my accountant as well, who is pretty approachable and friendly, so we have a chat about things.
So in that case, the accountant's open to talking more broadly about you and the business, as well as looking after the statutory and financial obligations. So in terms of, if you were sitting here and you're advising me on getting into a small business, and this is kind of like partly about wrapping up the interview today, but what are your key advice to someone in a corporate role now looking to or thinking about going into business, or somebody who's already in and is it's hard? So what are your top three maybe pieces of advice?
Yes, I'm glad that you said top three because, so first, have some rainy day savings. Don't go out on full guns blazing without any backup payments, because money is not going to magically turn up within, the first month or the first 2 months. Yeah. So have some rainy day savings, and don't try and save money by not seeking legal advice. So it's important to have some basic form of contracts from a lawyer. Just have go see your lawyer in your community, get a commercial contract drawn up so that you are, when you enter, because business is not straightforward. You cannot trust everybody from day one. Trust needs to be earned. But if you have something legally binding with a vendor or with a customer, you have that safety net in place. And insurance, if you're a product or a service-based insurance, and if your product or service can impact other people's lives, make sure that you have insurance, because you never know if something bad happens. You don't want to be selling your family home or your, the assets that you build up for your own family. You don't want to be in a position to sell those. Yeah.
Which sounds a lot like preemptive or legal advice well in advance of something, maybe before you even get rolling. Just so you understand the risk that if it's a product and something happens, consumers could come looking for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and with that you also talked in there about legal agreements, and I think you're referring to, I mean, you're in a product and a distribution business, so you were talking then about supplier agreements. Is that?
Yeah, supplier agreements. Yeah, supplier agreements, and also a contract with your distributors. So you want to be crystal clear about your commerce terms. You just want to make sure that you're a small business owner. You're not rare. You may or may not have a lot of capital backing. So if you're relying on those precious dollars to come through, might as well pay to have some sort of legal advice. You don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars, just a couple of hours with a lawyer just to give you a heads up.
Couldn't agree more. It's so many, when we started talking about family businesses and how many small businesses are family businesses, and trust is kind of assumed in a lot of cases, or it's completely not there, the extremes. Anything that, it's a wonderful place to start, that there is some embedded trust, but you've got to, before you go into business, you've got to be able to say, well, it's hard. Let's just take a moment to think about, if it doesn't work, what's going to happen, and what is our process? Because if you're in a family business, or you want to remain family, even if there's some kind of dispute. So, Sri, thank you so much for your time today on Small Business Banter. Your post on LinkedIn was very refreshing and honest. So, I wish you well with, getting the Zealandia Honey up to where you want to get it to. So if people want to reach out to you, have a chat, you open to that? And if so, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, they could reach out to me on LinkedIn. So that's one way, or they could follow us on Instagram, and I'm always there on the messenger there. So they could happily reach out through that way as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Look, thanks so much for your time today. Wish you really well, Sri.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, Mike.
So that is all for today's episode of Small Business Banter. I continue to be inspired, bringing you small business experts and other small business owners and hearing their stories. If you want to listen to any past episode, jump onto your podcast platform of choice and search Small Business Banter. There you will find a diverse and fascinating collection of small business owners and experts openly discussing and sharing their experiences. For any of the links, resources, or information we've talked about on the show today, or to contact me, please head over to smallbusinessbanter.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And it would be great to have you tune in the same time next week for another episode of Small Business Banter.